So, what is purification?
In part, I would say it's freedom from one's programming, releasing of the toxins, programming, memory, assumptions.
Okay. The burn is purification of force, purification of fire, purification of clarification, clearing of the way, clearing the path. Purification is everything and anything that clears the path or establishes a basis for the burn, which means, in this case, dissolution of obstacles, obstructions. Purification is all that.
How do we maintain this practice of purification when we don't have you with us?
You have to remember what it is. That's why for many they have to remain in the company of the process or the source as such. Have to remain in the company as long as necessary, or as possible rather. Not even as long as necessary, sometimes you can't be there that long. But as long as possible, so that you are able to absorb as much that can be considered to be part of what the fire was as it was lived to you or demonstrated to you in some form or other. So it's not a matter of anything but absorbing as much as possible, being in that presence, beyond your self-thought mind and preferences or tendencies. To the contrary, self-serving mechanisms, other serving complexes, so that what's real is made obvious to you in terms of what true nature is, or in this case calling it heart fire sound or Huda nature is. Not what a person thinks it is, but what it actually is, beyond your thinking, beyond your feeling, beyond your programming altogether. Just is. As real as your breath is real. And your life experience is real. Not as anything, but as it is. Livingness. Not who, in terms of mind form or program, or what in terms of tendency or drive, urge, and so on. But as it is. Isness. Clear, free of self-contamination.
Do we reach a point where we're free to use the programs rather than be used by them, still retain them for whatever social or...
All programs are for the purpose of use. See, use. Just like the body is programmed for you to use, not to be imprisoned by, for you to use, celebrate your life by, or with, or as. So, the idea is to be free enough to move into selfless celebration, or radiance itself. Radiant being. Free of self, limitation, and confusion. You are just being that. Open with your breathing. Relaxed with your breathing. Selflessly breathing into lightfulness. Peacefulness. Serene sweetness. Fierce gentleness. Practice. Basic. Centering. Basic. sitting, basic breathing. Come to terms with the responsibility that is. Okay, it's to be with your breath and then to be beyond your breath at once.
It seems that practice makes it easier by function, but maybe more difficult by choice to be around people unaware of this process.
It's not about people. It's about whoever's here. Here and aware of what's at risk. If you're not aware of what is at risk. So it's not about peeps. It's about awareness and the responsibility that is awareness. In terms of what awareness recognizes, not what the self sees or perceives beyond most fundamental awareness, heart awareness, beyond self-awareness. You sit and practice melting yourself stuff into heart awareness, and you let that be what it is. Start with an idea, but you have to start with an idea that is rooted to this intuition because you're in the company of practitioner, one who's living as such. The simplicity, the fierceness of simplicity. Yuda, nature as such. Heart fire sound, reality. Nothing physically big or small. It's beyond that. Something infinitely subtle and all powerful at the same time. Beyond size. Beyond dimension, beyond distinction or character. Characteristics.
What happens to our awareness when the programs take over? Is it still there?
When the programs take over, you are your awareness. Post-program awareness, you are that. All right? You're being you when your programs are running. And when your programs are not running, you're not being you. It's that simple. So the idea is to know if you can not be you. So you figure, you have to not be you. And at the same time, in order to get there, you have to be beyond the you that can be. More than you. So, know you. But then you have to go beyond that. Otherwise you can't be what it is. So, your intuition has to be brought into it. And yet your intuition is not a thought process. Yet it may show up as that. So this is not against thought as much as against, not even against, but for pure thought, which is like no thought. And good luck to you who want to really recognize or realize what that is. In the meantime, it is stated as such, as a guideline. Because everything that you can hear becomes your trap. The idea, of course, is to be aware of the fact that what you're hearing, you're processing and making more than what it is. That is, you're materializing concepts into that which is other than where it's coming from. So you are entrapping yourself by perception. That means you are, by tendency, misperceiving what it is and thinking that what you hear is thought. And so you know that, so you assume then that you know, because your perception is at the thought level, which in your programming is what it is. And that's not what it is. And that's why thought has failed you at its level. Self-thought has failed you. It's failed to free you up and enlighten you at that level or ensound you at that level. See? Because it's not what it is. It's not even what it is as a relative appearance. It is not even that. As you experience it as a relative appearance, that's not what it is. So, it's not even what it appears to be what it is. It couldn't even be that much real. Okay? So this is a thought making everything perceived as other. So this kind of dividing, separating, is a mechanism of disempowerment, ignorance, which is subtle. Everyone is doing it, or allowing it to be done because of their programming. That you are not what you really are, you are what you think you are, or you are what your image is perceived as programmed according to a standard of images that you agree to be identified with. Socially, egoically, sexually, politically, racially, subjectively, totally. Perverted. So the perversion is not a sexual perversion. The perversion is thinking. Having a thought is a perversion if you don't know what it is. You don't understand it. So you're a pervert. Did you just say something? You're a pervert. Did you just think something? You're a pervert. Did you just feel something? You're still a pervert. Are you doing anything? You're a pervert. Right? The perversion of action. See? The perversion of human nature. See? It's perversion. The perversion of incarnation. See? The perversion of being a self. Being someone. See? At all is the thing. Self-thought mind are the components of this thing that by programming divides itself ad infinitum, see, to the infinite. So, and there's no slowing the process down ordinarily. There's no reflection that undoes it, see, that can dissolve it, reverse it. So, of course, you meet one, the guru or teacher or spiritual friend, where boom, you are slammed by this presence of stop. No way. Not real. It ends here. It's over. Done. Sit. Breathe. Start over. Begin now. Refresh the whole thing. Get up early. Forget about yourself and your sleeping programs. Right? Your laziness, BS. Right? Moans and groan yoga. So what do you want to hear? And when you hear it, you got to hear it for what it is. Like, whoa, what's going on with this?
What is the source of intuition?
What do you think the source of intuition is, if it's not your self-thought or mind? What is the source of intuition?
Some kind of resonance or in syncness with something beyond oneself.
How about nothing?
Nothing's good.
Right? To begin with, it's nothing. Huh? The source is nothing. But then what is peace? If not nothing? What is light, if not nothing? What is reality, if not, in fact, nothing? Apart from the chaotic turbulence of physical, emotional, mental, perceptual complexes relative to what's real, what's not real, who is this, what is that, who, why, how, confusion. Human nature totally chained. So you run into the wall of awakening. Barrier. It's actually a barrier. It's like saying, oh, you can't go beyond this point without awakening. You're going to come here, you're going to wake up. Means you have to stop. The machinery and programs stop. Because they don't exist at that point. Or beyond that point. Don't exist. Everyone is ready for that. Because everyone knows, beyond themselves, that that's real. Because everyone is programmed to die. I mean, stop. Completely stop. Let go. Everyone's programmed for that. So this is not a revelation. It is a discomforting reminder of what is real. It said, oh, stop. Right? Celebrate your day of death. Forget about your birthday. How about your death day? Right? Celebrate it now. Come to terms with that. See your dead body already. So your body is done, finished, over. Carcass. That's what it is. Every night, that's what it is. Except you come back to it. But we don't work from that, say, recognition or intuition and knowing, say, that the mind can't really fathom, the knowing of. So it looks into the universe at night, right? It has a connection, but doesn't know. You are connected to it, but you don't know. Your mind can't catch up to what it is. So he's not, I don't even know what I'm in awe of. I'm just in awe. So says the self. Okay? And then from another level, at the soul level, that, oh yes, I understand this. It's a reflection of my being. I'm not other than that. I am dying stars. I'm dying. I'm a physical body that's here to die. Dying matter, dying energy, dying time, dying space, dying life. Subject to nature. Excuse me. Right? Comment. So all that's happening at the same time. But nobody is that, which is an interesting point of all.
So it would seem then that in a sense life is training for death, and it's best utilized by dying while we're still alive.
Well, if you sit, you're dying. Because you're already dying, but if you sit, you're participating in the stillness of death momentarily. That's nature. Such death is life. Life is death. Right? Life is stillness. It's not just restlessness, activity. It's also stillness, like a mountain, right? Like a planet. A stillness, a being. It's also that. It's also the tree and the grass, unblown, unrained, unsnowed, just being. Tree to grass, earth to moon, moon to sun, sun to galaxy, galaxy to totality. It's also that, stillness, openness to dying, which is openness to life, stopping and going, and then neither, just being. That's practice. That's purification. That's fire. That's heart fire awareness. Not that you have the realization of it, you know about it. You know about it. And the realization is there, then there's nothing else for you. So you don't have a realization until that's all there is. But the realization is just realities. It's all you know. There's nothing to say about it. It's not information. The realization, for some, You say, oh, I know that. You say, no you don't. You think you do. So, oh, like you know China? Have you been there? This place? Right? The mountains? Yes? No? I heard about it. I know about it. You don't know it. Huh? Heard about fire? Yeah? Good. Do you know it? Yeah, I know about it. Have you experienced it? You realize it? Sure, I have an idea of that. Oh, here. Check it out. Your pants are on fire. What about that? So, your house is on fire. Huh? And so on. So, realization. It's not a thought. So it's not an idea. Realization is what's left. Okay. When the self is transcended. When thought are transcended, so, and when mind is transcended. So, altogether, self, thought, and mind are transcended. So, properly understood and let go of its limitations. That's good practice.
How is it that when we sleep, as you say, die in a sense, how is it we return?
Figure of speech.
How is it we return the same person? Is it possible to return from sleep an entirely different person?
Well, anything is possible. Next question. Anything is possible.
As we begin to recognize in this process the non-reality of appearances, are we free to utilize those appearances as needed?
If you hear yourself, then you know the answer to the question. You're free, yes, to think any which way you want. But that's not your realization. Your realization is not a freedom. Your realization is that thought can, or your recognition and realization perhaps, is not a spiritual, enlightened, or ensounded realization, but you are able to recognize that your thought is able to conceive of anything. Conception is that free. You can conceive of it, you can consider it. So you can conceive of space because we're related to it. So we're part of it. So you can mock up an appearance, a perception, gathered from memory, perhaps, gathered from experience, or gathered by intuition of something you haven't even experienced yet. But you can see it in some cases. You can see your death in some cases. So you haven't seen it yet for sure, physically. Years ahead, but you've seen it. So maybe it's memory, but maybe it's a different kind of memory. Maybe it's an intuition. Maybe it's beyond memory. Go on.
Can an avoidance of negative thought or an aversion to negative thought lead to only positive thought? And is that useful?
Well, there's no negative thought as such, and no positive thought as such. That's relative to who? So, what's useful is recognizing the machinery of thought as being relative to who, to what, under what conditions, and what practices is beyond thought. Stillness, cultivation, death, self-death, no self, self-death. The simplicity of that as death. Stillness. But awareness. It's not like death of the body, it's just awareness, which transcends conditions. It's not dead, it's not alive, it just is. Be that which transcends all conditions, which is what we're also part of. That which can defy time and space and energy and matter and show you the death of your body is part of this paradox and mystery. Intelligence, okay? Beyond your mind, incomprehensible intelligence. Okay? Okay? You can't get it. There's nothing to get. You have to just deal with it. You have to go beyond what you think. And fear, which shapes what you think. Fear, insecurity, is the engine of your thoughts, your ideas, your feelings, concerns as a human. Yeah? Which is not part of what's going on here, except that's what you come as, but not necessarily what you leave as. See? And yet nothing changes, nothing happens, and yet you're not that anymore for some reason. You lose that whole sense of fear, see? Mortality, suffering. You lose that, because it's not validated here. See? In your sitting, in your stillness, in your breathing, in your chanting, and celebrating your spiritual emptiness or nothingness, you start to lose your fear. You lose your fear, start to open up more. So you open up more, you start to realize your potential. Realize it. That means come to terms with it. So start to sense it. So you realize it in the lowercase sense. You recognize it. See? Properly process it. Say, this is so. And there's a recognition of the process of transcension in motion. So when you say, I came in one way, and I'm not that way anymore. Something's happened. I have been mysteriously liberated from one condition or other of illusions, see, or delusions. And maybe this is what the grace of the Master is about, because what survives is something other than what you come with. See? And if you could have gotten rid of it otherwise, you would have a long time ago. But you couldn't. You come to the Master's coming and all of a sudden these things just disappear. See? So, amazing grace. Because they don't exist. Kind of like ghosts. And it haunts you. And all of a sudden you come to the ghost chaser. And they disappear. They don't have anything to do with the ghost chaser. The ghost hunter. Ghost catcher. And so on. The boogeyman, the real boogeyman. So, the fire itself.
What is the relationship between fear and desire?
What's the difference? What's the difference? Show me the difference. Right? What is fear if not the desire to be in bondage, in suffering, and in ignorance? What is fear if it's not that? See? The desire to be less, right? Or reduced to be dominated. Not awakened, but just dominated. Stepped on. See? Crushed like a roach. So yeah, that's me. This little old me.
So we can overcome fear by overcoming desire?
No, you'll transcend fear by being in the company of the free. That's what you did here. You didn't come here for a psychological formula. None of that worked for you before. None of your reasoning worked before. Otherwise it would have worked for you. Right? All the books you read, all of the great philosophy you read, all of the spiritual teachings you read, none of that worked for you before. What worked for you since you got here is what? If not that, then what? See, the realization of the Master works. That's all that works. See, it's a force. It's a presence. It's a manifestation of intelligence that does the work. See? It works on you. Sure, you have to work on you too. But this works on you. The Master is someone who can work on you without working on you. See? This is not living from your fear. Your assumptions, your basic assumptions of self-validating beliefs. So, self-building, self-cherishing belief mechanisms, see, which are fear programs. You are yourself because you fear not being that. You are this kind of person because you fear not being that. You make yourself to be one thing because you fear not being that. And then others are who they are because they fear being that, and that's what they have to be. They have to be their fear to themselves. So feel okay. Their debt to fear is obvious. But none of that is reinforced here. Because what is reinforced here, which is like the yogi training throughout the world, is just sit and come to terms with your breathing. Go back to the basic life force. Go right back to your original life force. First breath. Okay? First breath. The best one. Right. First breath. Best breath. Huh? The only one. So always the first breath. Every breath is the first one. If you can get in touch with that as first breath, and renew yourself accordingly, and pacify yourself, clarify yourself, awaken yourself, liberate yourself accordingly, all together at once, that's good practice. And this is what you find out in the company of the teacher, the master. Your mind doesn't think that way. So it's not programmed to think that way. When you come to the master, then you start seeing there's something else going on, and that is outside of your programs, and enabling you to reprogram yourself so you get better results that are not self-inflicting pain, self-afflicted negative emotional disturbance, self-division, confusion. So then we're talking about the undividual. Huh? The undividual. You have to become the undividual. Welcome, my beloved undividuals. No division. Huh? Nothing. So all of this is what practice is in the spirit of purification, which means letting go, knowing better, being with the teacher that represents some kind of understanding and happiness, wisdom, mastery, or whatever, skillfulness, or killfulness as it is here, killing the BS. And then you want to be like that. You say, I want to be like that. I want to do that. See? It's just normal. See? Sure, it seems like imitation, but you're naturally drawn to another level of doing which is free of your self. And free of it. And the drawing is not just from self to self, but it's self to heart. In the company of the master, what you're sensing is another dimension of heart reality that is unknown to you, but you sense it. So yes, you want to be loved. And say, well, that's what the master does. The master doesn't want to be loved. The master wants others to recognize their function in life, which is to be love. Not just to be loved and worshipped, but to love. Thus the master is love, not loving others, not being loved by others. No, this is about the responsibility to be love itself, and that is to say, be heartful. Not personal, impersonal, with all due respect to persons, or how they appear as such. It's about the heart's breathing beyond, see, programs of love, being loved, and all the fear of not being loved. Okay? Getting beyond that. See? We're going to have to get beyond. You need to recognize you have to get beyond that. That you're not as good as you are loved. It's a program. Love is the heart nature, true heart nature. See? And then you have to recognize, well, what causes your idea of being loved is your self-image. Right? Your corrupted, perverted self-image needs to feel loved, right? Because you have this delusion that you are not loved, right? It's a delusion. That's like saying you're not the heart. Well, whose problem is that? What happened to you? Who informed you? Right? Your girlfriend? Well, another person with the same problems? Same delusions?
We need to be loving each other. Oh, said who? The deprived, right? The enlightened angel or the fallen spirit? See? The one in darkness or the one in heaven? See? One in heaven is in love already. So it's in the love of what? God, let's say. Compassion, realization, heartfulness. They don't need any love. Wake up.
Is personal love love at all?
Well, it's called personal love. Who's to say whose love is one thing or other at that level? It's personal. See? Who's to say it's not healing for some? Just like a smack in the face can be healing for some, right? Some kids, if you smack them, they feel you love them. Oh, well, you finally showed me some affection. Okay. Would you like more of that? Is that enough? Right? Which is, then what? Relative to what? So you can't say it's love, you're talking about affection. That's not necessarily love. It may be in the spirit of affection. Positive. What? Programming. Emotional programming. That's not love. It's just what it is. Positive emotional programming is obviously not love. It's a love program. So it's a game. You're doing it for what? Why are you doing it? Okay? It's a mechanism. Well, peeps, you ask them, why are you doing that? They come up with a lot of reasons. Well, I'm doing it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's what it is. Materialism. So, it's materialism. It's love materialism. So, BS. So, self-love. Masturbatory self-love, which is the way of the world. Self-pleasuring. It's program, machinery. Nothing wrong with it. It's just not what it is. See? It's not all there is. See? Because you self-pleasure because you're in pain. You're not free of pain when you self-pleasure. You relieve it momentarily. That's the love game. Comfort programs. See? Affection programs, which are poisonous. Alright? Because if you don't have it, then what? How are you going to feel if you don't get your dose of sugar from your whoever it is? Alright? If they wake up on you and say, hey, you're totally full of shit. Right? It's going to spoil your day. Right? Is that love too? We like to make it love, of course. It's the best kind. Pure love. Wake up, you idiot. So the idea then from the viewpoint of the master is to be love. And then that takes care of everything else. Because then as it relates to others, then that's what they're getting from it. A certain form of impersonal love that's fierce, capable, see? Gentle and serene, but capable. It's a blade. See? It's a blade, cuts. Very cutting. Like a fire, burns. See? It's love. That's fire. It's great. Heart fire sound. Pure love, impersonal. See? Heart radiance. It's like that, present. Not the pipsqueak, game playing love for what? Right, the tit for tat, chessboard. Nonsense. Moves. You're doing your moves. Right, the look good moves, smell nice moves, right, the nice talk moves, nice hair moves, right, all that. The nice playing moves. Right, I think, oh, so-and-so's here, I'm going to play this way for that, for her, right? Just for her. Hey, did you hear that? I played that for you, baby. Garbage, right? Garbage. There's no love in that. Not a trace of it. So there's no love in the world. So the potential is there. But everything that's going on with pizza, those games, see? Materialism, this for that.
See, wheeling and dealing. Reducing the heart to that. See? Exchange programs. This for that only. Not free. It's not free. There's no radiance in that. See? It's flickering. You're talking about the flickering possibility. A moment of this, moment of that, because everyone from the core is capable of it. Pure. The Spirit being love. Not hankering over love, which is not love. Just hankering from the point of view of suffering, desire, see? Needing gratification. That's not love. That's obsession. Being controlled by emotional programs. So there's no love in that. Sexual neurosis. That's what that is. Suffering. No freedom there. It's just It's true. It's understood. Moaning and groaning. It's not love. Say, I need love, I need love. No. You don't want to be love. So you're always going to need love because you refuse to be it. Comment?
This is so simple and clear, and yet it's virtually unknown truth. Yeah.
Well, this is the process. It's burning. So, based upon what is true. So getting to what is true, getting to the core thing. That's seeing into, hearing into, in sound. Hearing into, and hearing beyond the forms of the mind and the moans and groans. See? Having a connection with that which is real beyond the human BS programs. And staying true to that. Then you're getting out of your experience what you came here for. Just not to keep going, ripping yourself off. See? You're ripping yourself off. You're stealing from yourself and throwing it away. If you don't get to the core reason why you're here. And stay close to that. If you think you're here like a bunch of other idiots that, oh, it's just a relational circus, that's what you're about? What, the second chakra is all you've got? That's it? A penis looking for a pussy? Or the other way around? That's it? That's as much of your happiness you can recognize for yourself? That's happiness? It's the dog level. That's happiness? It's pretty low. So, primitive. So they're down on the totem pole, very down low on the totem pole. Right? Basic toilet level. Okay? Calling it love and all the rest, but there's no radiant happiness at that level for some reason or other. So, when you make that your reality, you're in darkness. It's not all that there is. Your heart is being neglected, your brain sometimes. Life is being neglected, because all you are is a bed peep. So, toilet peep. It's all you care about at that level. That's not love. That's obsession, it's negative emotion, and that's bondage. So you're in suffering, dealing with pleasure. But that's suffering. There's no freedom there. Be clear about that. There's no love there at all. None whatsoever. It's obsession. You love this, you love that. No, you're saying you're addicted to that. That's using you. You're stuck in a program. There's no love there. Love is radiance, like the sunlight. See, that's light, right? Light, real light, constant light. That's like love. Heart love. Sun is a physical manifestation of heart love. It's just there. It's not on and off. It's not wanting light, it is light. Okay? So it's not wanting love because it is love. So why should it want love? It's like a wealthy person. They don't need money. They have it. They have what they need. So they don't talk about money. Oh, well, money? What's that? Huh? So it's the same with the spiritual reality. Once you're rooted in the true, that's what's real. Not conversation about the truth. So, not teachings about it, but what it is.
translating that into music, but the true tone is for the individual. You feel it. See the sound. What is resonating, if you can call it that, extending from your bones or your core, your heart. See? Sound. Then you hear it, you know what it is. And that's all there is. That's all there is. It's really all there is. Beyond your face, beyond your body, beyond your programs, and that's all there is. You might hear it in your dream, and you want to get to there. It may be revealed to you psychically by way of the dream level, and say, wow, I heard it there, but in this dimension I can't do it. I can't get to it, but I heard myself in my dreams. Is that good? That's a starting point. So you have a recognition then from the inner, the psychic world of your future. If you work towards it, then what you heard that you know is true for you might be coming down the line. If you align yourself with it, make that your focus. Say, yeah, I heard it in there. I heard it, it's in me. It's true, it's in everyone. It's what practice is about. Getting to what is true in each and every one. That is their fulfillment. Not their desires, see? But their true nature. See? As spirit soul, capable as spirit soul. Living as spirit soul. See? Pure awareness, spirit soul. See? Fire being, spirit soul. Heart sound, spirit soul.
How does the quality of our lives relate to the quality of our deaths?
What do you think? There may be no real connection. There may be. Because you have people dying, regardless of how they live their life, they're dying like that. Right? You have 275 people in an aircraft, they'll go in a snap. Each one totally different experience, different quality of life. One's a hobo, just barely got enough money to get on the plane. The next person's an executive, and a doctor is the next person, engineer here, senator here, whatever. All gone, same moment. And it's not about the quality of your life. It's just about your karma. Your time's up. It's got nothing to do with the quality of your life at that point. Because the people in 9/11 in the building there, you had an enormous diversity of peeps that perished in that moment. See? Either with a burn or with a collapse. See? The crunch. It's not about your quality of life, because they couldn't even find the peeps after that. So it's not about that. You're alive and then you're dead. The idea then is to forget about the quality of your life in terms of your materialism and your comfort, and start to realize what the quality of your death is. So it's not about your life, it's about the quality of your death. Because the mystery is solved by this kind of recognition of your death, fullness, your deathfulness. That's key. Because you're sitting as dead. Yeah. Your peacefulness, cultivated, is self-death, ego death. So death is key to everything. How are you going to know what life is unless you die? Yeah. Right? The living shall not die is an interesting point. The dead shall not live as such. Paradoxes. Yeah. The living shall not die and the dead shall not live. Yet the living are dead and the dead are living. Yeah. Relatively speaking. Yeah. Comment.
Is it a wheel of life and death? Repeating?
You may as well just consider it a wheel. Just like your day and your night are part of a wheel. Tomorrow's another day, another night. So is anything cyclic? Everything is cyclic, you can say. And then there's only now.
There's no cycle to now, but yes, you can say at the same time, there is no cycle to now, but then now extends into days and nights. So now, which is beyond cycle, is related to and perceived as having a cyclic nature, but that's because of consciousness, not because of now. So, it's a good question.
Good answer.
What a question. It's all about, oh, God. Good grief. That's a good question. Yeah. What's in that? What's in that? It's insightful. Huh? It's like saying, give it up. So, there's nothing else. That's resolution right there, that there's nothing else. So it's like acknowledging and accepting, or embracing and being the moment. And that's good practice.
So then practice is not for later or for death, practice is always for now.
Well, it is for death. It's always for death, because death is now. Death is not later. Death is nowness. You have to recognize that. That's a mystery you have to figure out. Death is only now. Because if life is now, then death is now. They're not different. Life is dying, dying is living. And that's what practice is. Being able to deal with that properly. Being open, being okay with dying. See, the death process. Not liking it, but not disliking it as much. See, just knowing that's the way it is. The world is a living, dying, simultaneously. Kind of a system. It lives as it dies as it lives. You don't have one without the other. So once you see the whole thing, you say, oh yes, of course. That's it. That's it.
It's something that's relatively easy to see until one has an attachment, either for their own life or someone else's.
Well, until death is upon you. Forget about the attachment. Because that's the, you have to, when your moment comes, your attachment becomes something else. Maybe you recognize your attachment for what it really is at that moment. When you have nothing left. When it's all dissolving, it's all burning away. Within a fraction of a millisecond. It's eternal.
Is it akin to flipping a switch to go between life and death, on, off?
You'll know for sure, soon enough. and you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna enjoy, right? Whatever it is, right? You're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna know it. They have no choice. See? It's a ride you can't avoid, right? You're paying for it right now. You're making your payment on it right now as we speak. And that's what practice is. Being okay with that. Not just, sitting in your little self-mechanism, wanting enlightenment and the power that comes with it, the wisdom and the influence that comes with it, the authority that comes with it. No, that's the cosmetic side of the whole thing. Oh, this is about being okay with death as life.
Just as an observation, universally people's near death or revive from death experiences, nobody ever talks of a negative experience.
Well, there are negative experiences, yeah. You hear them. You haven't heard them. Why would they all be positive?
You hear people going towards the light, and
Depends. That could be the most horrifying experience you ever had. You know, right? You go towards a fire. You don't think that's a relieving idea, beautiful idea. There's a light right there. It's firelight. Go right into that. Easier said than done. Could be the most terrifying experience. You have to be ready for that. And the most exhilarating, beautiful experience. You don't know, because you got to get beyond both of them. To get beyond both of them. So that when one has a certain kind of experience, what's beautiful is not that it was beautiful, but that it happened. And it's over. It's over. It's over. My individuals, it's over. Love always. Shoot.